Okay guys, I'm about to leave to the Dutch Mecca of bodybuilding. And the owner of the gym is actually hosting the Strength and Physique Cup at the end of the year, which actually was the first competition they ever did in 2013, which actually inspired me to pursue classic bodybuilding. So it's a pretty special thing for me to be doing, and they will be giving posing classes today. And I will be joining them, just checking it out and maybe instructing them a little bit, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to work out there as well, doing some delts. I'm pretty much near the end of my contest prep. Haven't really trained delts that much, and supposed to train legs, but hey, when you're at the new gym, doing an upper body part is a lot more fun, especially with the different lighting. Anyway, I'll see you there. Okay, so today it is time for a shoulder workout. It has indeed been a while since I've done shoulder workouts, but I'm going to fire up those delts to get as good as a pump as possible. And therefore, we're going to start out with a very light exercise, a warm-up. And I spotted this machine in the gym that I never saw before, the side lateral machine, and it looks pretty amazing, so I wanted to try it out, and it feels pretty good as well. And the difference between a dumbbell and this machine is that actually the stress on the muscle remains there all the way to the top and the bottom. It just feels different. And usually at the end, as you can see right here, during any side lateral raise, I like to do it with one arm to prevent the traps from taking over, because if you go way too heavy with both arms at the same time, you're more likely to shrug up the weight, because then it probably looks a lot more like a shrug to your body, to your muscles, than actually a side lateral raise. So to isolate those side delts, try it with one arm at the same time when it gets too heavy. And then honestly, my favorite exercise for the side delts, the classic simple side dumbbell lateral raise. And I always like to do a high volume approach to the side delts, to any small muscle group, rather than going too heavy. And just to say it shortly, if you go too heavy, you will use other bigger muscle groups to assist those weaker, smaller muscle groups to actually still be able to do the movement. So trust me guys, in my opinion, 15 reps works a lot better than 8 reps to develop fully rounded delts. And then to finish off the exercises for the side delts, we're going to do some wide grip upright rows. I like these a lot. You can do quite a lot of weight with these, but you still hit the side delts predominantly. And the reasoning for this is when you do a regular upright row, you might hit the traps more, the front delts more, but the wider your grip is, the more the tension shifts to the side delts, which is exactly what we want to hit. And this will be the last set, and this set will actually be until failure with some forced reps. I like to do forced reps to really force in the blood into the muscle that you're working without compromising your form. Knowing that you have a spotter will actually save your form, because you can keep it intact, and your spotter will simply assist you with the reps while still maintaining good form and still targeting the muscle that you want to target. And during this workout, I am exactly 2 weeks out from my competition, and right now it's going pretty quickly in terms of conditioning. I think I'm on schedule right now for sure. This was a low day, however, but I had a high day before, so I could still maintain quite a good pump. As you can see right here with the outside lighting, you can see the striations in the shoulder, which is a trademark of mine that I always look for when I get lean. And everybody has different trademarks. They want to see different striations that tells them, okay, now I'm far ahead enough during the prep to know that I'm at a certain level of leanness, and I certainly can tell that I am that for sure. And these are some dumbbell front raises like Arnold used to do them, even Ronnie Coleman used to do them. One of my favorite ones to really isolate the front delts. You can really feel the front delts burning, contracting, and that's what you want. Don't go up way too far, because if you do, you will miss the contraction and you will actually let the weight rest on your arm, on your joints, rather than on the muscle itself. And you cannot really go super heavy with this. 15 kilos is just about my max, keeping the form intact, because the heavier you go, the more you will swing your body automatically. Remember guys, the dumbbell is pretty far in front of you, so you will compensate with your body to actually stand up straight. So the heavier you go, the more you cheat, but you can't really help it, so keep that in mind. And you may have noticed I didn't start out with the front delts at all. I started out with the side delts, then did some front delts in between because I really like the pump it gives me, and it still targets the side delts a little bit as well. And then we move on to the reverse dumbbell flies for the rear delts. This is also one of my favorite exercises to really target those rear delts. It does require some mind-muscle connection, because you can much easier target the traps with this exercise by just doing shrugs upwards. But if you want to target the rear delts, you really got to feel those points of contraction in each of those little muscles. And the weight that I'm using is pretty light as well, because again, I like to use quite high volume on a smaller muscle group. The rear delt is a small muscle. It's not able to pull a lot of weight, so going heavy is useless. You will use your traps. The same thing with the side delts. If you want to isolate those muscle groups, you got to go light and slightly higher volume to pump up the blood inside of that muscle to make that muscle grow and not anything else. And this is also an excellent exercise for the rear delts. I rarely see guys do this, but especially for people who find it difficult to contract the rear delts, to really find it difficult to properly develop the rear delts, this is an excellent exercise. It may not be an isolation movement, but it actually is an easier movement to contract the rear delts with. Just make sure that you're on a rowing machine with a wide grip, so you can grip it as wide as possible, because then you will automatically target the rear delts that much easier. And again, at least 15 reps on an exercise like this. Really try to keep the traps out of it. If you look closely, you can of course see the traps working, but they are not fully contracting. If you look at the rear delts, however, you can see that bulge of the rear delt sticking out because it's filled up with blood and it's working the entire time, pulling the weight. I'm really focusing on contracting that little muscle. And again, having a spotter will prevent you from having to use your traps to cheat the movement. However, cheat reps like that are a good option if you do not have a spotter to still hit those rear delts a little bit by using the traps. And this gym is pretty awesome, by the way. Pictures and posters of Arnold and other classic bodybuilders all over. This is called the Dutch Mecca of bodybuilding. Really owned by someone who is really passionate about bodybuilding, who is a real fan of classic bodybuilding, especially Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can definitely tell by the equipment and everything else, the environment, the atmosphere of the gym, that he really put work into making this a worthy classic gym. Anyway, here I'm doing some military presses as a last shoulder exercise to hit those front delts. Guys, if you know me, you know that I like to hit the side and the rear delts first before really targeting the front delts very hard. And the reasoning for that is because my front delts are developed enough compared to the other deltoid heads, and that's because I train my chest twice a week, and when you train chest you inevitably hit the front delts. Just imagine doing incline flies, incline dumbbell press, incline bench press, you will hit those front delts, guys, and if you don't hit the side delts and rear delts equally as much, they will be underdeveloped compared to the front. So that's why I always like to start out and prioritize the side and the rear. Usually with shoulders I like to include another muscle group with it, usually tricep or biceps, and this time I chose for the biceps because I trained chest and triceps, I believe, the day before. Yes, I'm pretty sure I did. So the biceps are up right now. And this machine is pretty awesome, guys. This is really something that feels like incline dumbbell curls, the classic exercise that Arnold made famous to really work on those bicep peaks, really stretch out those biceps to the max, and this exercise really gets you biceps like Arnold himself right here. Fully developed long head biceps. But of course there are people with very short biceps, but if you want to make the most out of the genetics you have, you might as well do everything you can in your power to make it happen. And an exercise like this is an excellent way to do that because you can get a full stretch out those muscle fibers and the nerves signaling to your brain, hey, develop these biceps to the maximum, not only at the top but at the bottom as well. Make a fully rounded bicep, so stretch all the way to the bottom and contract all the way to the top. And of course my dad is working out with me as well, rocking the vintage genetics gym apparel. And after one classic exercise we move on to the next, an alternating dumbbell curl. And I have recently changed my execution of this exercise just by a little bit. If you look closely you can see that I am pulling, actually curling up the bicep, the dumbbell a little higher than usual, and the reasoning for this is because I want a full contraction during this exercise. Arnold used to say that he felt the best bicep contraction he could possibly have when doing this exercise, and I really wanted to explore that, and I came to the conclusion that yes, that is possible. And you know, in the gym when there's pretty good lighting, especially outside lighting, which is my favorite, it always is nice to track your progress, to really record it and see it for the ages. But anyway, back to the alternating dumbbell curls. This exercise really emphasizes the contraction of the bicep because the stretch isn't really emphasized that much because your arms are hanging down. So what you want to make the most out of is the contraction. So what I do is when I contract, when I go up even more with my upper arm. So it doesn't stay straight, it actually comes up a little bit, maximizing that contraction without cheating. And the last exercise of today to work on the bicep thickness, just imagine seeing yourself from the front in a mirror. You want that bicep thickness to increase. You work on the brachialis, which you can kind of see in between the bicep head and the tricep contracting and filling up right there. If you develop that part of the biceps, you will create a thicker bicep in general, which is something I want to work on myself. And I really like these rope hammer curls kind of over the dumbbell hammer curls. Is because the contraction here is superior, and this cable actually makes my biceps hurt more and stretch out more at the same time, and that is what I want. I want it to be as difficult as possible, and on top of that, it is easier to spot. As you can see, my dad is spotting me right there. Easier to go beyond failure. And the posing class that I was talking about at the beginning of the video was actually not of guys, but was with girls. So I checked it out for a little bit and was asked for a group photo, and I happily, of course, joined the photo. So all in all, I had a very fun day at this gym, really awesome gym. I'm definitely going to work out here more often. Really nice environment, really motivating environment as well. And I want to thank you guys for watching the video. Let me know if you want to see anything specific. I am 2 weeks out right now. I'm really motivated for the competition. I'm going to show you so much more footage. Do not worry about that. Thank you for your support, and don't forget to stay golden.